back to the Chow Time Pod. It's your host, Red. I got a video today from Matt Walsh. This is about that one panel that Vice did with all the Asians. I really wanted to do that panel video, but Vice is so anal with their copyright issues, so I ended up not doing it. But I saw Matt Walsh actually touch base on what I wanted to touch base on. So this is perfect opportunity to kind of tie this from the racism that we were speaking of and to our manosphere that I was also talking about, that how it intertwines with each other so much. So please like and subscribe down below. I really appreciate that. And let's get to the chow. It's chow time.
A few weeks ago, Vice held a panel discussion with young Asian Americans. And here's how they describe the point and theme of the conversation. What does it mean to be Asian in America? From hate crimes to the model minority myth to affirmative action, a politically divisive panel hashes out the most controversial issues facing the AAPI community today. Now, this is the kind of discussion, especially when hosted by an outlet like Vice, that is nearly certain to be excruciatingly boring and annoying. It's already guaranteed that the panel will be stacked with leftists, and leftists are ideologically required to never say anything remotely interesting, especially when the subject has anything to do with race or ethnicity. But fortunately for the viewers, there was at least one young man who managed to make it onto the panel despite having a mind of his own. A Twitter user named Calum posted a couple of videos featuring this man. Vince is his name. And his contributions to the conversation are quite interesting. The clips are revealing and instructive and also kind of hilarious, not because of what Vince says. I mean, what he says is good and is correct, but there's nothing hilarious about saying something that's true. What makes it funny is because of how the other people on the panel react to him saying those things. So
I agree.
Watch this.
Assimilation. Is it a good thing? Is it a bad thing? Is it a burden? Is it an opportunity?
I think in society, if people don't, to some degree, say, well, here's what we're going to commonly agree upon.
But who gets to choose it?
And it starts.
The majority culture, I suppose.
And what's majority culture?
The people with power.
And who's people with power?
People with power.
It's the one with the purple hair with the loudest little, like jab back.
White people.
Well,
White people. Oh my God. Like, that's the first thing it goes to. It's like, I always wondered why a lot of my Asian friends are so leftist and they're so indoctrinated by this. I just started to realize now why a majority of Asians are this way. It's because majority of Asians make up most of higher education. Like, Asians as a whole have like the highest high education rate possible. So that means more of our kin is going to these liberal schools and getting indoctrinated by these schools, even though they've been literally given the fruits of this country. Why do I know this? Because I came to this country when I was 5, and I've eaten the fruits of this country, and I don't see any issues against white people or anything. I have no quorums. This is weird. My father loves this country. He fucking loves this country. This country has given him so much opportunity. It's given his kids so much opportunity. It's given his kids so much safety. My dad came from a war-torn country that literally destroyed itself because of communism. He does not want to see that type of thing here. So it's crazy that I'm sure that a lot of these Asians, some of them are Vietnamese and some of them are not, but all came from some war-torn type countries, and yet they think that they're oppressed here.
I don't know if that's...
I'm gonna say it,
Yeah.
white people. It's okay.
I don't know if that's necessarily so true. I mean,
Look at that. Because I was taught this way, so it has to be true. Like, white people are the devil.
Wait, can you
look
unpack?
at,
Yeah.
I don't
elaborate.
I don't think a particularly white quote unquote interest controls things like
In America.
pop culture.
Do you believe
Well, I
white
think-
supremacy exists?
I think there are people who
That's crazy that they went from we should assimilate to who's going to control the assimilation? White people and the white supremacy? Like, what the fuck?
Who believe in it. I think there's people who all believe that their race is superior.
So you don't believe in white supremacy?
Do you believe America is a white supremacist state?
No, not at all.
And not found
No
by-
white supremacist state would even allow us to be doing this. I don't understand. It's a white supremacist. There's just KKK people walking.
I mean,
Boom! Drop the mic. Why do people assume that we're in a white supremacist state? He's right. We are, as Asians, as minorities, we're allowed to do everything we want to do. Like, that's the thing where people are putting, making definitions of certain words just into something else. White supremacy means that white people think they're superior to other races and literally show it. I don't think most white people in America are like that. So the whole saying that the whole country is like that is beyond me. Have you not lived in the country? Have you not experienced what happens in this country? Or all of your experiences went away when you went to college and they told you white people are the devil?
I go around New York City. I notice that, I guess Brooklyn a little bit different. Most of the people here are not white, and they're doing their thing.
I live in California. I live in Southern California, LA area. I see less white people than I see colored people. There's no issues here.
So I don't understand.
what does doing their thing mean to you?
Going to work.
Are they making the same amount of money?
Man, their arguments are so stupid. Matt Watch will touch base on this shit.
I gotta say, I like this Vince guy. I mean, I like him for all the
too.
reasons that everyone else on the panel
I'm gonna make friends with this guy.
is shocked and horrified by him.
fellow
First of all, his
Asian
point
guy.
about assimilation is obviously correct. A nation must be bound together, united by more than just the simple fact that all of its people exist inside the same geographical boundary. And that's even more the case today when the geographical boundary is so porous and apparently, according to this administration, negotiable. So we have to have something else holding us together. To be a people, not just people, but to be a people, we must have a shared culture, shared values.
I mean, this is what nationalism used to be. This is what nationalism got replaced with. You know, everybody used to be national, very nationalism. Like, my father loved this country when he got here. I think most people did. And because they loved this country, they assimilated and worked together in the country. Now people hate the country. Now they think that, the country is like a burden to them, even though they've been living here and thriving here this whole time.
Values, shared traditions, a shared language. Without those things, you end up with fracturing and division, and that leads to violence, and that leads to chaos and dysfunction, all of which we're experiencing today.
Correct.
Of course, everyone else in the room is offended by this notion, mostly because they're conditioned to be offended by it. These are automatons operating based.
It is a choice, people, to be offended. It's literally a choice. People can say whatever they want. You have to choose yourself that you're offended. Remember that, people.
Based on their programming. That's also why the obnoxious girl in the front row has purple hair. She can't help but become a
First thing
parody
you
of
notice.
herself. It's like, why do these obnoxious liberal women, why even do the purple hair anymore? You are willingly making yourself into a stereotype, into one of the most mocked stereotypes in existence right now.
It's okay, Matt. It's okay. It's easy for us to tell. It's easy for us to tell which ones to avoid. For men in the manosphere, the purple hair, blue hair, red hair ones, we know. Avoid those chicks.
You are saying, I'm going to be that person.
That's how we know.
But it's all programming. And she is aghast that Vince would suggest assimilating with the majority culture because she claims the majority culture is white. And she sees white as automatically bad, and she holds this view even while telling herself that she is not the racist one. She, along with her leftist cohorts, are also scandalized that Vince will not label America a white supremacist state. But as he points out, if America was run by violent white supremacists who control everything, the first thing they'd probably do is stop you from pointing this out.
Yeah.
Okay? This is a pretty good indication So if you want to know, do I live in a white supremacist, violent state? Well, can you stand anywhere? Can you go anywhere and just say this is a violent white supremacist state and nothing happens to you? Oh no, sorry, it's not nothing happens to you. You can go anywhere and say that, and you'll be applauded.
Correct.
Well, if that's the case, then you don't live in a white supremacist state, because non-white people can say and do whatever they want, and they can condemn white people all they want without any repercussions whatsoever, unless as repercussions you count.
Yeah, I notice Asians are one of the loudest voices in this hate against white people. Like, even in the video I did with Charlie, some of those clips, they're mostly Asian people. And even in the last video I did about white people, there was an Asian guy that literally made a fucking video about like how it doesn't matter if you're racist towards white people. It's weird to me that it's a lot of Asians that are like pushing this rhetoric, and it's weird to me because, goddamn, I love this country. Like, I came here when I was 5. Like, didn't know a lick of English. Now I'm in a position to where I can make good money. Like, there's not very many countries that can offer this to us. Like, yeah, maybe some things are a little harder than others just because of my skin color, but overall, I feel like if you went to like Cambodia and you were white, I don't think you'd have a great time. Just saying. Like, this is the part that I think people do not realize. If you actually went to another country and you were a different race, who's the minority now? You, right? They're still the majority. They could do whatever they want. It's their country. Like, that's the part where I'm like, this was founded by white people. A good amount of white people still control it, but more Asians, more like, you know, black people, more Hispanics, more whatever races are starting to come in, and white people are allowing it, right? So,
again, applause. It's not exactly what you'd expect a white supremacist dystopia to operate. That's not how you expect it to operate. Like, if you didn't know anything about this country, if you're crawling out of a cave and someone told you, oh, you know, I got some bad news for you. You know, you crawled out of a cave into a white supremacist state. You just so you know, you live in a systemically racist white supremacist state. When you hear that and you don't know anything, immediately your mind is going to conjure all kinds of images. Correct. And you're going to make all kinds of assumptions about what sort of country this is. And then you're going to get out into the world and you're going to find...
Because the world uses real definitions, right? Instead of people in the U.S. using whatever words that are like freaking clickbait type words just to, you know, try to prove a point, which that word is not used correctly.
Find that, wow, it's not anything like that at all. In fact, wow, there's non-white people all over the place go running around talking about how much they hate white people. And then there are other groups of people, there are white people following behind them applauding. Yes. Well, that's not the kind of white supremacist state I was expecting.
Mostly
so I do have
women.
to admit, the guy at the end was onto something. He asked whether non-whites make the same amount of money as whites. And the answer is no, they don't. That's true. Because most of the people in that room, in fact, belong to ethnicities that make more money than white people on average.
Correct.
Many Asian immigrants come to this country and quickly find themselves in a higher income bracket than the average white family. The median household income for Asians in general is $100,000. For white house...
Damn! I actually did not know that. I knew we were higher than the average, but I did not know that our median was 100 grand. That's pretty damn good.
Sold at $77,000. This remains perhaps the most inconvenient truth of all inconvenient truths for the race hustlers.
Oh, I did know that Asians make more, but I didn't know the gap was that big towards most other races.
Because if America is a systemically racist country, systemically racist against non-whites, how could it possibly be the case that many non-white communities fare better than whites? In fact, Vince, always on the ball, makes this very point later in the discussion. Listen.
Statistically, it is true that Asians, right, on average, make more money, in terms of medium, make more money, better test scores, get into better colleges, all that stuff. I think the question is, why is that? And I don't know, model minority, whatever that label wants to mean.
That's actually a myth because we cannot be...
Well, no, listen.
Can you not interrupt the man? The man's speaking. God damn, people.
Well, let me finish my point. We need to observe what makes people.
Look at that, like, look of contempt in her. Like, just listen, look at them. Look at all of their reactions and look at how, like, they're taking this, especially this one here. I have an issue with this one, just like her off eyebrows or eyelid, whatever the fuck's going on with this here. It's just, and that face, just bugs the shit out of me.
Assimilation.
Now, needless to say, Vince is once again completely and irrefutably right. Asian Americans do very well in this country. They also tend to have intact families. This is not a coincidence. In fact, if you look...
This is where it relates to us, guys. You know, like, intact families is what I think all of us should be striving for. And it's funny that they would say that's a white, like, thing. Do we not look at other countries and other countries not have stable families? Like, you're stupid. You're fucking stupid. The people that say, oh, the traditional wife and husband role is only for white people. And what the fuck are people doing in other countries? Are they not doing the fucking wife and husband duties? Like, you're fucking stupid.
Look at a ranking of median household income by race, and then you look at a ranking of divorce rate by race and out-of-wedlock birth by race, the lists are identical, okay?
And people wonder why they like Asians. And like people wonder why they think Asians are like the most submissive. They wonder why Asians, you know, they sought after Asians. Because of these statistics. These statistics are pretty real. Asians are very about the nuclear family. I am, because I was raised that way. My family has always been about family. All of my aunts, my dad has like 16 siblings. 4 or 5 died in the war. All of my aunts and uncles all have 3 kids or more each. And each of their kids have 2 kids or more each, almost. There's one or two that only have 1. Our family grows like crazy. Why? Because we were trained that way in a sense, or taught that way from early, that family is almost absolute to us. And the bigger our family gets, the more power we get in a sense, because it's more people that are out there that have blood to us that we can lean on left and right. This is how Asians think. I don't know how other communities think about it, but this is how Asians think. The more of us we can build up, the more of us that we can lean on back and forth.
The groups that are less likely to get divorced, less likely to have out-of-wedlock births, are also less likely to be poor. As the rates of broken homes increase, the rates of poverty increase between whites, blacks, Hispanics, and Asians.
This is why us in the manosphere talk about fatherless homes and single motherhood so much. It is literally the determining factor of a kid's future and the future of your community. Come on, people. It's mostly speaking with black women.
Black community is the poorest. It's also the community with the most out-of-wedlock births and broken homes. The statistics here, again, are irrefutable. The only crime that Vince committed was noticing it. And as we've seen time and time again, one of the great moral crimes in our culture today, one of the only moral crimes, is the crime of noticing. Like, we all know that black people as a group generally fare the worst by every societal measure, pretty much. We also know that as a group, they have the highest rates of single-parent households and kids raised without stable and reliable parental guidance. We all know all of that, but these are facts we're supposed to keep on the peripheral. You're not allowed to turn your head slightly to the side and look directly at them. And if you do look at them, you certainly are not permitted to draw any connections or form any conclusions. And if you do look at the facts and you form conclusions, they certainly better not be conclusions that would, even to the slightest extent, put the onus on the black community to improve its own situation. Okay, you better not be implying or suggesting, or God forbid, outright saying that the black community can do certain things itself to improve its own position, like, for example, have kids, get married before you have kids and then stay married. Like, you're not allowed to ever say that, though I just did. That's the greatest heresy of all.
And to this point, I see. This is why the Black Manosphere is what it is. They see this. They are experiencing this, and they know the issue that it's having. That's why I love the Black Manosphere. I'm a part of it in a sense, and I'm all for it. Like, Black women really need to come together and really realize, stop having kids out of wedlock. Stop giving these Pookies and Ray Rays, your womb, when there's plenty of good Black men out there that are wanting to raise kids with you. It's crazy how many Black women are baby mamas. It is staggering numbers. And it's a choice. Remember, it's a choice. White people aren't forcing this on you guys. Black women are usually choosing to want to leave these Black men or just to want to have kids with these Black men. Remember, it's a choice.
Of course, the other people in the room reacted as you would expect those in a religious cult to react to heresy. If you're only listening to the audio, you're not going to be able to fully appreciate the scene, because as Vince calmly explains the benefits of having intact families and discipline and encouraging education, the other panelists were left slack-jawed. They stared in horror, their mouths agape. They shook their heads. They could not believe what they were hearing. They were in close proximity with common sense, perhaps for the first time in their lives, and they found that the experience was terrifying. That, to me, is the most disturbing thing. Yes, obviously Vince is right about everything he said. Obviously the other panelists are wrong, but it's not just that they're wrong, okay? You can be wrong about stuff. It's just that it's not just that they don't agree with Vince's common sense, data-backed analysis of the situation. It's really that they were shocked by the analysis. Okay, it's one thing to be wrong, to misinterpret it, to misread it, but you're shocked by it. It's that they apparently had never heard anything like it before.
Crazy.
It's one thing to disagree with an obvious truth. It's another to be stunned by it. And that speaks to the suffocating, stifling bubble that these people have been living in. They clearly believe what they believe merely because it's the only belief that was ever presented to them, and they lack the intellectual curiosity to survey the other options. They have nearly totally insulated themselves from everything that might challenge their worldview. So
it's how the internet is nowadays, guys.
When it does happen, and they finally and by accident encounter such a challenge, they practically faint like damsels in distress. And that's what we saw there.
Like back in the day.
And it's why Vince is not canceled today. In fact, I just found out as I was preparing the segment that Vince has his own YouTube channel, which you can find if you search Vince Dow, D-A-O, on YouTube, and you should look him up. He's obviously a brilliant guy. The same cannot be said for the others in the room, and that is why they are today canceled. That'll do it for the show today.
How was that chow? Like I said, the racism and the manosphere, I feel like it's all in one. It's one institution and one entity that's pushing all of this agenda. And it's just dividing us. They're dividing us through gender, dividing us through race. Like, it's funny that we hate on white people, but we need them. We need them to be with us to be able to get minorities into power and to get certain things passed. This is where people need to realize this is why assimilating and working together makes much more sense than separating yourselves in the same country. Right? Like, I don't know, this issue is starting to grow more and more into my manosphere stuff, and I just got to talk about it. So please like and subscribe down below. I really appreciate that, and I'll catch you guys next time. It's Chow Time.